In 2018, a nonprofit gave every adult in a Henyo village in western Kenya $500. Most of their families had lived in extreme poverty for generations, and this amount was about equal to most recipients' yearly salaries. Even so, the money came, with no strings attached except a promise to speak with researchers after 2 years. They hoped this rush of cash would lift the villagers out of poverty. But they also knew this could easily become the latest in a long line of failed philanthropic efforts. In the 1960s, charitable organizations began increasing their philanthropic efforts, spending billions on education, job training, agricultural development, infrastructure projects, and healthcare programs in attempts to help poor countries. These programs hope to create a starting point of knowledge and capital that would build financial independence and strengthen struggling economies. But when economists started studying this kind of aid in the late 90s and early 2000s, they made some surprising discoveries. After running different carefully controlled trials, where one group received education or job training and another group did not, the researchers found this kind of aid often had very little impact. School supplies failed to improve education. Job training didn't always raise incomes, and the benefits of nutrition education varied greatly from group to group. These disappointing results even extended to newer philanthropic models. At this time, many theorists strongly supported microfinance, a model that offered small loans to hopeful entrepreneurs in weak economies. But while microfinance recipients consistently repaid their loans with interest, the programs failed to meaningfully raise their incomes. All these failures led researchers to consider a strategy many people thought was ridiculous: direct cash giving. Most philanthropists saw this approach as the worst kind of short-sighted philanthropy. They assumed recipients would quickly spend the cash and then end up right back where they started. But when researchers returned to Ahenyo 2 years later, the results were astonishing. Business revenues were up 65%. Families saved more and ate more. Kids were doing better in school. There was less alcoholism, depression, domestic violence, and inequality between families. And these effects weren't unique to Ahenyo. Since this study, direct cash giving has become one of the most researched poverty interventions, and it has consistently shown effects that often exceed traditional aid programs. In fact, a later study spanning hundreds of Kenyan villages found the surrounding economy grew by more than twice what was given out just 1 year after the cash transfers. However, direct cash giving isn't a silver bullet. Poverty is a generational issue that requires long-term changes to solve. And since this intervention is relatively new, we still don't fully understand the effects of cash giving over longer periods of time. For example, a Ugandan study beginning in 2008 found that while a cash transfer improved some families' earnings over the first 4 years, the positive effect disappeared after the next 5 years. Then it returned again under the pressure of the COVID-19 pandemic. Clearly, we still have a lot to learn about how cash giving plays out over time. But no matter what we learn in the future, the theory for why direct cash giving works can help change how we think about poverty today. While traditional aid programs assume that philanthropists know best what a community needs, cash giving programs believe the people experiencing poverty best understand what they need to escape it. For example, maybe for one person, repairing their home is more important to long-term success than starting a new business. And for another, making sure their child can finish school might let them bring in more money in the future. Fortunately, we can afford this kind of help. Today, wealthy countries spend $200 billion a year on international aid, and philanthropists have another $1.5 trillion sitting in private foundations. We already have the means to eliminate extreme poverty, but doing so will require these institutions to trust the expertise of the people actually living in these conditions.